Little Nightmares is a lore-heavy game with a mysterious world filled with creepy perpetrators. Little Nightmares 1 was just a taste of who these perpetrators are, with so many more to encounter on the second installment. I made 2 videos previously about Little Nightmares covering the story, the ending, and some theories. I highly recommend you watch them, as I will mainly focus on the story of Little Nightmares 2, slightly touching on who the perpetrators are, and quickly going over the prequel and Little Nightmares 1. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator, and here are some theories about Little Nightmares 2. Before we get into the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and beware, as there will be spoilers ahead. In this mobile game, we take control of a girl who wears a yellow raincoat very similar to the one Six wears in The Maw. The girl arrives at the Nest, a decaying mansion built atop a hill directly above the sea where the Maw is, crashing in with an air balloon. Unfamiliar with this place, confused to how she ended up in this place, she proceeds to explore and possibly find the exit. In this place, this girl meets the craftsman, who seemingly uses the skin of children to craft dolls which are used by the lady of the house. This craftsman resembles the janitor in the first Little Nightmares game, as he has disproportionately long arms and legs and seems to be bound in a wheelchair. Then we meet the butler, levitating above the ground, having his hands bound in a padlock behind him, who possesses powerful telekinetic powers. He also serves the lady of the house, making her tea and doing laundry. Then we finally meet the lady of the house, a pint-sized girl with doll makeup who goes by the name of the Pretender, as she plays pretend with dolls made by the craftsman. The Pretender possesses powerful abilities as well, evaporating perpetrators at sight. Diving in a little deeper, we learn that the hanging man in The Maw is the father of this girl, while the teacher in Little Nightmares 2 is her mother. Throughout the game, this girl follows a mysterious girl who at the end throws a boulder over the Pretender to save our protagonist. After the Pretender survives the boulder, she chases our protagonist and both fall into the water, with the yellow raincoat rising afloat the water. The mysterious girl then climbs down and presumably wears the raincoat and becomes Six, our protagonist in the first Little Nightmares, and arrives at the Maw. In the first installment, we get introduced to the world of Little Nightmares, and quite honestly, there's a lot to cover. We are introduced to Six, a mysterious 9-year-old girl who wakes up in a suitcase, unlike other children who are imprisoned. We also learn about the runaway kid, who is one in the hundreds or thousands of children imprisoned to be transformed into meat for consumption purposes. Six seems to be a selfish character, who doesn't care about any other children to even attempt and free them, despite being helped by one of them in the beginning when she had a bout of hunger. She also consumes a gnome, whom we learn in the DLC to be the runaway kid. So in fact, Six consumes a child like herself who tried to escape this living nightmare. We also learn about the other characters, the gnomes who turn out to be children turned into gnomes by the lady. As we learn in the DLC, by their casted shadows and as the runaway kid turns into one. We have the imprisoned kids who are getting prepped to get killed for food and sometimes attempt to run away. Then the shadow children wearing porcelain face masks. Then there is mysterious monster residing in a room filled with shoes. There's the granny who resides in the depth of the Maw, flooded heavily with water. We have the janitor who imprisons the children and sends them up to the kitchen. Then the twin chefs who prepare the meat for the guests. Then the guests who arrive by ships to the Maw and eat non-stop, and finally the lady who wields powerful magical powers and presumably is in charge of the Maw. All of these characters inhabit the Maw, an underwater vessel disconnected from any land, which seems to be the last place in this world free of any misery, pain, death, and other similar things. Now imagine if the Maw is supposed to be a haven compared to the mainland in Little Nightmares world. How horrible the mainland would be. Six manages to escape the Maw, killing the lady and possessing her powers, presumably getting on one of the ships which bring the guests. I'm making this assumption as in the post-credit scenes, we are presented by a full spectacle of the Maw with Six standing next to the entrance, while a foghorn is heard from the distance. A powerful Six, possessing the newly obtained magical powers from the lady, presumably gets on board a ship and leaves the Maw. Upon her arrival to the Pale City, the city where the populace is under control by a mysterious man dubbed as the Thin Man, she gets captured by the Hunter and gets imprisoned in a locked room, where she has been visibly counting the days to the point of getting very restless due to isolation. Now, what is questionable is that Six possesses powerful abilities, which she used in the Maw to drain the lives of some of the guests. Why didn't she use it on her captor, the Hunter? Theories are that the powers are only usable in the Maw. Possibly the Thin Man awarded the lady with these powers, and they don't work in the Pale City. Six's powers might have drained on their own, taking their course. The Hunter might be immune to her powers, or maybe even all of the other characters in the Pale City, such as the teacher and the doctor, but we can't say for sure. Six also loses her signature yellow raincoat and looks very ragged now, confirming that she's been held captive for a very long time. She looks like any other captive child now, signifying that she's no different here than the other NPCs. The Hunter could quite possibly be someone who works nearby the port, where guests get on board to travel to the Maw. The Hunter captures the children and sends them to the Maw. Pale City is the closest landmass to the Maw, where presumably the guests, last surviving residents of the city, travel to the Maw. The Maw in comparison to the Pale City is a bliss. The Pale City is a post-apocalyptic place filled with traps and powerful entities. The majority of the characters are the viewers, who are controlled by the Thin Man, the operative of the TV, who uses the screen to mind control them. I like how the theme of this game is about TV addiction, while the first one was about greed, hunger, and gluttony. Then there's the Hunter, who hunts the children, having placed many traps around. The teacher with a long neck, and children with bobbleheads, the doctor, and the menacing mannequins, walking detached hands similar to the Evil Dead movie, and the Thin Man himself who controls the city. The city is horrible, folks. If you thought the Maw is a place made of nightmares, the Pale City is 100 times worse. It seems as if the Thin Man is on top of the hierarchy in this world and controls the populace by his TV transmissions. The viewers are completely mind-controlled, while the other main characters seem to serve him, such as the janitor, twin shifts, the butler, the hunter, and the craftsman. These people are managed by characters a little higher up in the hierarchy, such as the teacher, the lady, the pretender, the doctor, and possibly the once alive hanging man, who quite possibly couldn't live with himself and lived with the guilt and ended his own life. We even see Six, a once caring girl who saves the life of the raincoat wearing girl in the prequel Very Little Nightmares. Six loses her empathy, not caring to free or save any other children in the Maw, and even eating a live rat, a gnome who turned out to be a child, and a lady. As she gives in to her hunger bouts, a dark shadow figure resembling her appearance on the sides of the screen appears, implying that her darkness is growing, which leads to the very end, where she embraces her darkness and absorbs the lady's dark powers. So according to this might suggest that these characters are not inherently evil, and they have gradually given in to darkness due to the controls of the Thin Man, who is in the radio tower. Mono, our protagonist and hero, seems to resist and overcome the Thin Man mind controls and methods of mind control through the TV transmissions. Watching the trailers also suggests that he is able to manipulate the transmissions and use the screens as means of teleportation. Mono in fact seems to care very much and goes out of his way to save a captive Six in a room where she had been held prisoner by the Hunter. Mono and Six work cooperatively to overcome the perpetrators and eventually dismantle this hierarchy by taking the Thin Man down. But to get to him, they need to go through the doctor and his patients, the teacher and her well-behaved students, the hunter, the viewers, and other perpetrators we might come across too. And that about does it for this video, folks. I thoroughly enjoyed making this video and will quite possibly make more about Little Nightmares universe. This game is criminally underrated and needs a lot more attention. If you want to watch more videos about Little Nightmares and other games, stay tuned right here by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host R, and I hope to see you again very soon.